She guided many UG projects and doing few consultancy work. So on behalf of IICSPC Sri Perumbudur, I invite a resource person, Dr. A. Saravanan.
Thank you, Vignesh. Now over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. So, thank you, one and all. So, first of all, good evening, all. So, I welcome you for this webinar.
Yes, sir.
So, before I get into the presentation, I wish to convey my congratulations to all the people available here towards the success or celebration of Chandrayaan success. So, with that fresh attitude, let us start our presentation. Sir, I'll just go ahead with my sharing of screen. So,
Yes, sir.
please
Yes,
tell
sir.
me
Please.
whether is it visible or not, sir. So
Yes,
now I
sir.
have shared my screen. So
Visible, sir. Visible.
whether the adjustments are now visible, sir?
Everything is visible, sir.
Yeah.
And also moving also. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So please, fellow participants, please, you are free to stop me at any point of time, maybe for doubt clarification or for understanding. So first of all, I thank the team, the management of SVCE, as well Professor Dr. S. Nadarajan sir for having given this opportunity to present on innovation-based entrepreneurship. So before we get into our actual presentation, I wish to give some sort of hope to the fellow people, those who are available in the webinar. First, I give you a promise that let me put all my effort. I wish to put all my effort in making your time, the spent valuable time, what you spent on this webinar will be judicious at the end of this webinar. The outcome is you'll be having good amount of ideas the way how to proceed with entrepreneurship. That is, I'm not giving you an assurance that at the end of this 1 hour 60th minute you'll become an entrepreneur. It's a long process, but the kickstart for for this entire process will be quite ambitious. I hope so. So we'll get into the presentation. So before I get into the presentation, we need to understand there is a term called as fallacy. The term fallacy means misbelief or false belief. We believe on our own thing, or maybe with by means of experience or the ideas what we heard, or what are maybe the thing, by what are maybe the term, we might be having some sort of logical fallacy. So I want to break that particular fallacy prior to the presentation. So what is entrepreneurship, or who is an entrepreneur is? Entrepreneurship is an activity of starting business or businesses by taking financial risk. This is very important from Oxford language perspective. By taking financial risk in the hope of getting profit. We believe that yes, the organization is going to be profitable, may not be a day one, but over a period of time. Eventually, the investments will be turning into profit. Return on investments can be experienced maybe over a period of time. Then, who is an entrepreneur? The one who takes such risk is going to be an entrepreneur. So, with this ideas, we'll just get into the presentation. So, as told earlier, the contents are highly scrutinized. They are not going to be highly diverge. They are going to converge to one particular point, and majority of the presentation will be from live example. Maybe initially the terminologies or some initial discussions alone will be in theory. There are some 4 or 5 examples what I have cited here will be practical, and don't worry, though I am from mechanical background, since people are there from different streams, I've just taken common examples maybe from sports or from live example from other areas, because it is going to give a good idea with respect to the activity what we are going to do right now. So it starts with innovation, design thinking activity, how design thinking and innovation plays a concurrent way, how do they do, and practical applications. So this is what the presentation is going to deal all about. So let us get into the core activity of our presentation. So basically innovation is, it is something a new idea, it can be a new idea, it can be a new product, it can be a new plan. The term innovation has no proper definition. Why I'm telling this reason is, it is subjective opinion. See, we have since we are in outcome based education, we have 2 types of evaluation, of course, in different stages. The one is formative assessment, the other thing is summative assessment. And senior, that is third years and final years, today only you finished your FAT examinations. So formative is, it will be available in the process, will be available in the process. We don't draw a conclusion, we don't draw a line, and we don't range, or we don't do any sort of conclusion, but we understand what is the flaws in the process, where the misconception with respect to teaching learning process, we do some sort of rectification measures as far as the formative assessment is concerned. At the end, the summative assessment means that's it. With that, the entire activity of that particular course is getting culminated. We come out with some sort of grading or ranking and other things. So similarly, innovation is not a summative activity. It's a formative activity. We do some sort of work, then we check for the progress. There might be positive progress or there might be negative progress, no issues. But still, we try to add value to the process. So therefore, it's a reiterative process. It's not a standard one. There is no standard procedure and there is no standard guidelines. This is very, very important. Of course, there are some assistants are there, but LLM in the sense large language model, general pre-processor transformer, GPT. GPT full form is the same. So even in that particular area, if you go and ask them what is innovation or how do I imply in entrepreneurship means, the concluding remarks are like this: no, I am under development. Though I am under development, it's quite a big part where there is no particular task or aspect which can be standardized. So even advanced AI techniques or suffering as far as this topic is concerned because it's the one which grows with respect to time. So what is the ultimate objective of this innovation is only three activities. The first thing is we should have a creative idea. It should be non-obvious. That is, it should not be existing in the market. And third thing is it should find its own application. So crucially, when you think innovation is goes hand in hand with respect to IPR, intellectual property right. You go for either design patent or utility patent or any trademarks. So the same questions are repeated even there. The documentation activity involves the same thing. So it should be quite innovative. That is, it should be new. The second, or it should be creative. The second, it should be non-obvious. It should not be existing in the market as on date, and it should find a wide application. So these are the three things which we should keep in mind. So let us start the activity. How do I understand? How do I interpret? So that's going to be the biggest task for any budding entrepreneur or who has an idea of taking his or her career in terms of entrepreneurship. So now, as per WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, they have identified top 10 innovations of the entire globe. We humans live in the globe. So top 10 innovations, the innovations are like this. So the first is a bag that cooks food. A bag which is going to cook food in the sense it do not has any sort of external power source, no electricity, it is not induction type, it is not solar, as well it do not has any sort of carbon emissions. So today it is becoming the trend. It is becoming the trend. So the first is going to be of this nature. So you can see on the first figure. So if you cook the food for 50%, that is sufficient. And if it is packed inside, it takes its own time, and after the prescribed period of time the food is going to be ready. So this is highly rated number one because there is no energy involvement here, and obviously the other part when you see no carbon emissions, because today the world suffocates because of carbon emission. So global warming plays a very important picture. So this is going to be the first as far as the WIPO is concerned. Then the second is in India, where though we claim Chandrayaan everything is success, still there are parts of the nation where they are not having the accept, they don't have access to the electricity or modern day internet things. So there has been an invention by name bottle light bulbs, that is reusing plastic bottles or their PET bottles or their maybe soft drinks or other things. So by using them, by using solar energy, that is we don't have any incandescent filaments or any tungsten filaments. So some sort of innovation is there just by using PET bottles. Innovation is there. So that is globally rated as number two. And energy producing roads. Solar panels are fit into the roads. Say in India, there are hardly some few lakh kilometers of meter square of areas available in the form of roads, national highways. So such roads are incorporated. If incorporated with solar panels means, yes, we can produce good amount of electricity. Now there might be a question whether panels will be withstanding the attrition or the wear and tear of the tires, will it be able to withstand means that's where the structural integrity comes into picture. So energy producing roads is being rated as number three. Then number four, this was not known to the people, though this was invented long back, but this came into existence just $1 microscope. $1 converting to Indian currency is hardly some, let me round it off, probably 100 rupees. So by 100 rupees we can use it as a microscope. in the sense during COVID pandemic, everyone would have understood the severity. So by using this microscope, we ourselves can analyze whether the microscope, that is microorganism, is available in our hands or not. And this is purely independent, no usage of power, but inbuilt battery is there, but no external power source is there. And the highly thing is it is cost effective. Then medical drones. In India, since human resource is abundant, so that is not going to be biggest concern. But when we get into few Western countries where human resource is a big concern, so they don't have good amount of logistics or supply chain aspects. So therefore, drones are used for especially for medical purposes. So there might be some shortage of human resource to drive the ambulance or other cases. So medical drones have come into existence. So that is rated as sixth. And mobile water safety check apps have been developed, and by image processing technique the water quality is going to be known to the people, because today everyone uses the smartphone. So apps have been developed by just clicking a picture of the image, it is going to analyze the process, the image is going to be, threshold is going to be applied, and it is going to tell the quality of water up to a certain extent, not by means of ppm. It is not because some sort of sensors are necessary, but by means of image it is going to tell as well. They have developed, they have integrated with maps, and it is going to tell the nearest location where good water facilities are available. Because people, you might be aware that World War III might happen. If it happens, the root cause will be not the authority or power in the globe, it will be purely only because of pure water. So that is significant. And the last but one is solar rechargeable hearing aids. Yes, people are there with some sort of physical disability, but power dependency has to be eradicated up to a certain extent. So solar rechargeable hearing aids are the one of the picture. And again, this is again a very interesting concept, wearable breast cancer detector. And last but not the least, analyzing the food quality. People, those who are consuming non-vegetarian, will be having an awareness in this regard, whether the meat is freshly cooked or it is freshly cut or not. So by means of again image processing, an app will solve this purpose. So these all are the innovations as per WIPO, because WIPO is one of the non-governmental organizations, but directly under USPTO. So they have identified this, not pertaining to them, it is across the global. They have identified these are the top 10 innovations. So innovation do not have any prescribed standard task or any procedure. So it is abundant in nature. We don't have any sort of restrictions. Only thing is creativity plays an important role in this regard. So let us hope that everyone develops such attitude in near future right from today. And one more thing, low cost harvest storage. That is, rather than going with a big amount of godowns or yards or something like that to store food, they have developed highly cost effective, because countries like Somalia and other cases where they have scarce as far as food particles or grains are concerned. So storage is going to be effective. Moisture is not going to hamper the quality of the food grains. So now, how with respect to globe, where India stands as far as entrepreneur is concerned, guys, as I told you earlier, I am not going to take you into complete theory. The initial portion, I don't have any other option apart from introducing such theory concepts. Practically, we'll get, maybe within a while we'll get into practical thing. So as discussed earlier, some theory concepts. So these are the parts of theory concepts. So as far as entrepreneurship in India is concerned, a significant growth has been registered after COVID, or maybe since COVID, let me put like this. So there is an organization called as GEM, Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. So in association with Government of India, there is a separate ministry is there. For example, you might be knowing earlier, a department was bifurcated. MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource and Development, was bifurcated into two. MOE, Ministry of Education. Education was made into a separate area, and INI's institution of national importance, or CFTIs, centrally funded institutions, have been brought under this head. And similarly, there is a new ministry has been introduced, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So both have combined they made as a joint venture, and they have registered the growth like this. Earlier, the growth was very meager, 5.313%, but now, that is by 21-22, there has been significant, almost doubled, 14.4%, and the forecast in current ongoing fiscal year, it is very, very high. Somewhere it comes up to 30%. The thing what we need to take away, or the takeaway here, is the growth is highly exponential and it is growing double. Within a year, it is growing double. So maybe after some 10 years or so, so the job market might be scarce, might be having a decline, sharp decline, and startup and other nature, such entrepreneurship nature will be high. So you guys need to cope up with respect to the trend, what happens in India as well in global scale, and we need to equip. And these are such measures where the institution takes to equip the students or to build, to cope up with the scale at which the industry or the country is growing. Now, what all are the steps does the government do? And guys, these are not new. So these legislations or taxonomies came into existence since 2016, not at 2023. 2016 itself, these things came. So India came out with a peculiar item called as a taxonomy called as a Startup India Action Plan. FFS scheme or schemes are introduced, fund of funds for startups up to 10,000 crores have been allotted in last budget. This budget, it goes up to 12,000 crores has been allotted in this regard. Then CGSS, so credit guarantee scheme for startups, any nationalized bank, any venture, we can go ahead and we can get money. Of course, the documentation part is made as simple as possible. That's what the fourth item, regulatory reforms are concerned. Then ease of procurement, GEM, not the first GEM, GEM, not the GEM, this is GEM. Government governance of e-management resources has been introduced. FMS has been introduced, financial management scheme. So the purchase becomes quite easy, not with respect to earlier thing calling for tender, other cases. Certain suppliers have been identified by government itself and that has been brought under FMS scheme. So even in our college, Professor Gurusamy sir of Marine is taking care of that particular path. So it is a part of AICTE where FMS is there. So the processing is made very simple that getting fund maybe through banks or from any central agencies is going to be as simple as it can be. Now, the initial portion, what we discussed was with respect to innovation. Then mildly we just migrated to innovation. Now, how do I start the project or how do I get into the process? So it is called design thinking. So design thinking plays a very, very crucial role because everything starts with design. You want to construct a home, yes, it starts with design. You want to construct any project or anything, research methodology, yes, it starts with design. So anything, whatever may be there in this age of information, everything starts only with design. Maybe the design can be in different formats. The format might be changing, but the methodology remains the same. So design thinking. Now, how do I start or what is this? I need to know. So that's what this design thinking is all about. It's a structured process. What's the reason for, what's the existence of this structured processes to solve the problem? So this is what is quite essential. See, you guys, when you take up your project in earlier, or you might be taking right now, or in upcoming semesters you might take. So there will be one thing called as need and necessity. Why do you do this project? For what problem statement are you doing this project? So you need to be very, very cautious. But the sorry status in some cases, not all, in some situation is like this, where people will be having solution and they read that means they do reverse engineering and they try to identify the problems. But the actual process is you should be having only the problem, not the solutions, and proper brainstorming. That's what design thinking comes into existence. Structured process must be adopted. Some sort of tools and techniques need to be applied, and we need to arrive to a solution which is practically viable, which has more moral, of course, cost effectiveness need to be considered. So real world problems has to be tackled, not some theoretically existing problem, real world problem, maybe from different sectors, from manufacturing or medical or material, whatever may be the area of application, but that should be concerning, that should be pertaining to real world. It should be complex problem and multiple stakeholders should be involved. Of course, that problem should be solved either by means of some process, some technology, or some sort of adopting a policy. But policy adoption is on national wise, it's a big scale, but let us not confine ourselves with respect to policy. Our focus will be either on technology or on the process. Now, after doing all these activities, what's the purpose? The purpose is, the first is, we will be getting innovative solutions. Innovative solutions will be available in our hand, and based on the cost or moral or eco-friendly, we can identify the solution and we can work on the solution and reduce the risk. Because the initial discussion, we started with the term fallacy. Fallacy, there we discussed entrepreneurship means starting new businesses, activity of starting new business or businesses involving financial risk. That risk, if you want to minimize, obviously the knowledge on design thinking to be highly motivated. Therefore, the risk is getting reduced. Now, how do I do it? How do I do it, and what are the stages? This become again an interesting task. So we know design thinking is a structured methodology applied to real world problems to know variety of solutions. But the actual way of introducing is it's an iterative process. This is where people need to have an inquisitiveness in learning, because what happens in today's thing is everything is of fast food in nature. The moment you get into the kitchen, boil up water, put up noodles of ready-made in nature, masalas into them, within 2 minutes or so you get your food being served. But that's not design thinking process. Don't think it's not cup of tea for everyone. It need to be a non-linear exponential thinking comes into process, and it's iterative process, not at first attempt itself we just get into it. For example, today we are discussing a lot about Chandrayaan 3, but earlier what was the scenario with respect to Chandrayaan 2? What Kalam sir told, if it's fail, he gave the acronym for the term fail, first attempt in life. We have the learning. What was the learning in Chandrayaan 2? At one particular orbit, that when once the distance between the lunar surface versus 7.2 kilometer of the Vikram lander rover, when it came, it all of a sudden it fell, and it fell with some sort of force. That was the failure, and that was the input for Chandrayaan 3, where they were making itself ready for soft landing as well as hard landing. They were getting ready for worst case, both the cases, soft landing or hard landing. But because of effort, a continuous iterative process, now soft landing is made possible. But what was the criticism when it got failed? Though it might be criticism, please always think criticism is a disguised compliment. It's an indirect form of compliment, but people don't give it as such. So that's where design thinking plays a very important role. The data we need to refine, we need to redefine, and we need to identify solutions. I'll take you to interesting examples where you will understand how the design thinking is really done. Then critical thinking, the next stage. Initially, yes, I have redefined, or I am just doing an iterative process. Yes, very good. But how do you do critical thinking is, here we come out with some judgment. That is, you might be having some solutions, three solutions. To put it into a very simple example, you are interested to buy a car. So this is my problem statement. What all are the options available for me? The first thing is, either you can go for some RD series, where some Q5 series where it is going to be some 50 lakhs or 70 lakhs. No, my budget is hardly some 5 lakhs. Yes, products are available even under 5 lakhs. There are some premium cars are also available. Non-premium cars are available in this range. Multi-fuel cars are there. CNG coupled with petrol, or in LPG has to be retrofitted to then existing vehicle. Yes, different choices are there. So that's what critical thinking comes into things. We need to have an objective, and we need to evaluate each and everything. And this judgment is possible only when you are having a sufficient knowledge on required tools and techniques. Blindly you can't come out with any sort of judgment. There should be some tools and techniques. There are good amount of tools and techniques are there by which things can be solved, or tools can be applied, and we can come out with some creative solutions. And that creativity nothing but innovation, and that innovation may be taken care in form of IPR, maybe registering into a design patent or utility patent, then later on adopting to the entrepreneurship activity. So the moment when you want to start, or when you want to do any sort of entrepreneurship activity, you need to start with design thinking, transform the ideas obtained into critical thinking activity, rate them, rank them, but not at the primary stage, at the later stage. Then if you found it to be innovative, get it documented properly. That is, get into IPR and get it documented. Then you can go for the funding methodology and other things. It might seems to be difficult, but it's practically easy. But you should devote time, good amount of time, in identifying these problems. Now, this we have discussed. Yeah. Now, how do I do it? Really, how do I do it? There is a 6-step process. Now, there might be a question. Earlier, you told us there is no standard methodology. So, but now you are telling there is a 6-step process. Innovation only, there is no methodology. But design thinking process, yes, as of now, there is no methodology. But this definition or these processes with respect to Stanford University, they gave with this, and Ford Motors have adopted this concept, and several innovations they have taken, and US Labor Office has recognized this thinking process, and that's where we are discussing about this. So when you want to do innovation in an entrepreneurship activity, you need to be strong enough in design thinking process. Now, how do I do it? Earlier, It was 6 steps, but now 2 steps has been merged, and now only 5 steps as far Stanford University philosophy is concerned. The first is empathize. Connect with the user. This plays very, very important. We need to connect with the user. See, I'm just deviating from the topic. Today's film, there might be once reviews are done, there might be one particular term which often every reviewers use this. I couldn't connect with the movie. Or if the movie is very good enough, immediately people tell, I could align myself with the character, maybe of the antagonist or the protagonist, and immediately they come out, people of the public in mass were able to connect themselves with the movie. So what is this connection is? It is the one where logically we are getting connected to them, maybe by means of emotional bonding or by means of logical bonding or by means of knowledge bonding. So again, it's a subjective opinion. People of different natures have different things, but the first thing is we need to understand the mentality of the users and we need to align our ideas with respect to the end user. Now the second step is define what are the problems, or they put them in the paper, write everything, try to combine the problems and work on it. So that becomes define. Ideate or implement is brainstorm. So here craziness plays a very, very important role. Actually, modern people call like this, researchers call like this. Brainstorm is a crazy activity where don't worry about any of the logics, just think of whether it is possible or not. I will throw you one example in this regard. Everyone would have seen a car. Why I'm taking automobile as an example is people would have used, or they know how to use the product, and everyone would have seen. That's the simple reason. By seeing on a very generic case, everyone can see in a car there are two wipers are there. Front two wipers are there for the windshield. But critically, if you see for the case of Toyota, especially in one particular model called as Etios, you can see only one wiper is there. So when it was questioned in the Car of the Year award. ICOT it is called, International Car of the Year award, but of course it has not won the award. But during that particular convention, it was asked why there are two, what's the purpose for two wipers and why you have kept only one wiper? What's the purpose behind it? They gave a classical answer. Of course, I open up to you guys to brainstorm why Toyota Etios has been given with only one wiper. So that's where they are reducing the cost, but that do not mean that it's a cheap product. No, it's cost-effective product. So the term is euphemistic in nature. So that's where we need to ideate. Then go ahead with the prototype, test for multiple prototype, and then it can be done. Again a hint in this regard. So now Chandrayaan-3 is a big hit. Yes, everybody agrees, right from international countries, globally, everybody accolades this particular achievement. But how it was developed is the surface of the moon was simulated in ISRO station, where they have taken the sand particles somewhere in Namakkal district. From Namakkal district, the white stones were taken to ISO's test rig. There, the surface was mimicked. It was made similar to the moon surface, and the prototype was checked in Earth surface. Then it has been launched. So this is what prototype testing plays an important role. Then finally testing, prototype building and testing both goes in hand, and that's where the iteration goes. So here you can see initially we start in a series of activity, but the moment we come for prototype and testing, again the reiteration process starts. So this is how we need to go ahead. So this is one simple example. This is not an IFA example, but one simple example. What is the design? The payment shows 90 degree the user should take. But why users always take the shortest path, least path? Now we need to think of the problem. Design thinking must be incorporated. Maybe they might be in a hurry to go to their destination, or other case maybe during raining. If it is raining during rainy season or during hot scorching heat, yes, people try to tend to move in the least possible path and to go ahead to a safer zone. These might be the reasons. So user has not, or designer has not connected himself with respect to users requirement, and this is the scenario. So again, there might be another question being raising in the students' mind, why there is no sort of discipline. See, that's what I told. Brainstorming never fits into any sort of logic. Craziness plays an important role, because here we are going with questioning methodology. Why? What's the reason? How? Who is responsible for this? When? What? So such questioning methodology comes into picture. So we need not to get into some sort of logical boundaries. If logical boundaries are there, design thinking will be it will be not fetching the expected results. So again, this is a critical thinking. See, earlier example was a very, very, very generic example, but now it's a critical example. So this is a typical truck, especially Indian truck. So what's the observation here? Anyone? Rather than going myself as an one-way traffic, anyone? What's the observation you undergo by seeing this crew cabinet of a typical Indian truck? No one from the forum? Maybe even in Tamil? Break out your shell, try to think. The first thing is, see the driver's seat, see the cabin behind, immediately adjacent to the driver's seat. You can see a pillow and see the condition of driver's seat. See what science tells us ergonomics, the way how or the conjunction of human sciences with biological sciences, the way how a driver sits, in what way if he sits he or she will be comfortable, then the way how they should take rest. So this is not in an engine inside a crew cabinet. The engine temperature will be highly scorching in nature. Maybe during winter season it may not be a concern, but it will be horrible during summer season, peak summer. It will be horrible. So what is there? Some system is there. It's a concern between the driver versus the owner. It's all about duty of owner, but see how the impact makes on the society. So this is 2021's record, where the reasons for accidents, so 55.9 percentage is because of speeding, then 27.5 percentage is because of dangerous or reckless driving, especially during overtaking, and other causes is 9.9 percentage. There is one principle called as Pareto principle, 80-20 principle, where 80 percentage of the problems can be solved when 20 percentage of the root causes are addressed. So this is what Wilfredo Pareto, a Russian scientist, he gave us his principles with respect to Pareto. Even there is a technique called as Pareto chart. So the philosophy is like this: 20 percentage of the problem is addressed. Now, what are the constituents of 20 percentages? First, 3.5 percentage because of weather conditions. Of course, countries like India, where tropical climate is there, it's not a biggest concern. Then 1.9 percentage with respect to influence of alcohols or drugs, and 1.3 is because of machine maintenance. Of course, everything is of machine, man-made machine. Yes, failures do occur, and it's very meager 1.3. But the biggest constituent in this other category is 9.9 other causes, especially when it was analyzed. It was identified that the ergonomics of the position in what they drive or the way how do they take rest. I'm not exaggerating this scenario. If you're interested, maybe during some afternoon times, if you go across CMBT omnibus terminus, you can see varieties of buses are there. Say AC sleeper, AC luxury, deluxe, different terms are there. But see the pathetic condition of the drivers. They'll be sleeping in the scorching hot. Even there is no fan or other things. So such things, such reckless activity of the owner or of the system leads to a loss of to the society, loss of lives, because though the technology would have developed, since we can't bring back the life which we have lost, then there might be another question. How come this 55.9 or 27.5 can be addressed? Yes, it is very easy. If you fit a speed installation device, yes, engine management systems are there. There are few warning mechanisms are there. Today, Kia Connectors connecting ideas is there. So it will warn the user if we are driving more than a particular speed. We might be in a remote location. For example, I might be somewhere nearby nearby Kanchipuram or Vellore, but owner will be sitting somewhere in Chennai. Yes, his mobile will be popped up with this message. Yes, the driver is going in a speed. The speed is in this particular limit. The traffic is like this. Yes, the driver may be having a reckless activity. The vehicle can be switched off by the owner by sitting in Chennai, whereas the vehicle will be somewhere in Kanchipuram or Vellore. So speed installation device, smart devices are there. So this opens up the plot for entrepreneurship or dangerous or reckless driving, especially overtaking. Yes, today sensors are there which do not allow the speed to be picked up by the truck if there is any sort of hindrances. But as far as India is concerned, we are still working on the cost part. So considering the cost aspect, these things are kept at stake as of now. Now, we have started with the design thinking. Yes, we understand, but design thinking is good as far as book records are concerned. It is always human centric, solution oriented. Yes, it is well and good, but it sticks itself with respect to theoretical aspects. So now we need to open up ourselves. We need to break the shell and we need to come for the next activity. It is called systems thinking. Systems thinking is See, usually students go with projects. That's what I told in the earlier slides. You go ahead with design thinking methodology. Having solution in mind, you do reverse engineering, try to identify the problems. But we are supposed to be in systems thinking. But at the end of the presentation, even I will conclude we should not be even in systems thinking. The preliminary case is pessimistic thinking, the later case is optimistic thinking, but systemic design is euphemistic thinking, and that's where we need to be. So what does the systems thinking does is it's problem oriented in nature. It focuses on the system, and the very essential thing is if you have a compound system, break them into components, try to work on the components so that we get easily we can identify the root cause for this, and that's where systemic design comes into picture. The earlier pathway example we saw, why people take the shortcut because of some factors. So that is only design activity. Now get into systems thinking point. What's the problem? Why do they do so? Now combine both the things, comes out with the systemic thinking. Now we'll take the example. This is where the example portion comes into picture. Now, when I want to start a creative systemic design, I should have idea on all the things. See, as I told you earlier, you can see the playful or the interesting thing here is the craziness. Here, craziness plays an important role, but that do not mean that I need not to be serious. No, it's a serious game where we should be highly crazy in collecting the concepts or in maybe in terms of creativity. But how do I do it? In a collaborative nature, I will be doing, in a multidisciplinary activity, I will be doing. And the very essential thing is we need to be highly holistic as far as our approach is concerned. So now we'll see what is the actual example. Now it is like something like a aerial view or a bird's view. So it is, the phrase tells like this: a designer without observation is like a bird without wings. So without wings, we can't even think of a bird. So the main purpose of a bird is to fly high and to search prey or do whatever the activities it is intended or it is supposed to do. So similarly, a designer without observation is like a bird without wings. So now let me take you to the observation activity. So it is going to be an experiential case. I'm not a brand ambassador for any brand, so that's where the brand is being just, it has been wiped off. So everyone would have saw a chips packet and it will be puffed in nature. The packet will not be, it will not be something where even you can't touch the chips, it will be of completely puffed. Now, what all are the reasons for puffing? I'll give you a minute. Can anyone unmute? Think of, see, it will be usually it will be stuffed with some sort of gases. So it's something like pillow like thing. If you shake, yes, usually you can observe, yes, chips particles are there. What is the function? What is the function for that particular puffing of gases? Why it is filled with gas? This is what my question is. So it gives exact picture the way how do you understand the problem. And this is not an engineering example, it's a colloquial example which we come across in at any point of time in our day-to-day activity. So the first thing is it is puffed with nitrogen gas. There might be another question, why nitrogen gas? Why not oxygen gas? See, we knew oxygen induces moisture, it oxides, it undergoes oxidation process. So what happens is the chips inside will become stale, it will become hard, it will not be consumable. Or other case, if moisture is induced, it becomes soggy. Again, it will not be having the pleasant taste, or even it do not, the smell itself, the aroma itself will not be good. So therefore, we go with nitrogen. Nitrogen is quite cheap. It is non-hazardous. It is harmless, odorless, and the biggest advantage is it do not react with anything. So this is what that chemical reason. That is with respect to chemical reaction point of view. But from engineering point of view, when you see, it is going to provide cushion effect. For example, in India, when you say any nearest food FMCG industry is available somewhere nearby Trichy, ITC company is there. Even they make chips like this. Let us assume like this. After producing the chip, it is traveling 300 kilometers to Chennai. So what will happen in the interim process? Yes, the chips are susceptible for breakage. Nobody will buy or nobody will prefer chips which are completely crushed in nature. People want to release the product as such, maybe in oblong shape or elliptical shape. So it acts as a cushion. So this is where the designer's observations from that perception thinking plays very important role. Yes, we fill with nitrogen, a chemical reaction oriented reasons apart, but what is the other reason? What's the interesting reason is it is going to give a cushioning effect for the entire packet so that the chips inside do not crush at any point of time and still it is going to retain the shape. Of course, taste, everything is being taken care by nitrogen as well. The cushioning effects it gives like this particular thing. So this is where the critical observation comes into picture. So you have problem, think critically, come out with a solution. So this is another biggest example on a very, very broad perspective, I'm telling. So it is one systemic design. Earlier what we saw was a very simple design, now systemic design. So this is one particular task where whether the ball has hit the glove or the bat or it has not touched. There are some three cases over there. So worst case is we can blindly close our eyes, and if the umpire wishes, yes, he can give his own decision. But today there is an aspect called as a DRS. So you might be knowing Sachin Tendulkar several times, especially in the band of 90 to 100 runs, where he is vulnerable to put century. He has lost his opportunities several times, maybe some 10 or 12 times if I am not wrong. So earlier days DRS was not available, decision was not reviewed because there is no system. There is no systemic designs, there is no solutions available in those days. But today things have changed. How it has changed is like this. Yes, today hotspot technology is available. We can easily claim it is there or not. But again, over a period of time, what happens is it is not able to give a clear picture whether physical contact do exist, because this is by means of optical rays. Optical rays based on light, maybe by means of shadow, this can be a wrong opportunities were given. So that's what earlier we saw. It's an iterative process. Initially, we get a solution. It's good, quite good. But is it going to be the best solution or better solution? Is no. It's an iterative process. So now let us see how the iteration went ahead. Today, it is by means of ultra edge. Ultra edge is physical contact. There is any variation with respect to sound. Now comes another question: who captures the information? Who gives the information pertaining to this physical contact or not? So sensor plays an important role. We'll see in upcoming slides how it works. So this is what innovation is all about. We need to know what is the problem with us and solutions. The moment we do brainstorming activities and inductive cognitive reasoning activities, we analyze every situation and we try to come out with a solution as far as this regard. So now again, let us see with practical example. So again, not an engineering example, not on a very big picture, very, very small picture. See, it is of usual trend. Say a guy prior to his employment, maybe immediately he becomes a graduate, steps outside the university or the college, goes into a job, he will be highly stylish. Then maybe after a period of time he gets married, he enjoys the delicacies of legitimate relationship, and over a period of time he becomes like this. This is a common affair, especially Asians or Indians. We are called as pot belly Indians, where the belly shape is in the shape of a part. Jokes apart. So innovation, what is an innovation idea is, you will be astonishing by seeing this result. Earlier, the belt was okay. The same person, maybe after a period of time, no, belt is not okay because he is not going the deformations inside him. If he is knowing with respect to time, definitely some sort of measures could have been taken. Whether he took or not, whether he will be taking or not, no, that is a different issue. But there is no innovation in this regard to indicate him that there's some sort of deviations. Instead of metabolic activity, catabolic activity is taking place inside the body. He should be highly cautious enough. How do we do it? This is a simple solution, which is followed in many foreign countries. Of course, in India, I don't think so. It is there. So day by day, maybe day by day, there may not be much deviation. Maybe once in a month or once in a fortnight, yes, it's going to give me a reading. And there are people where they plot this on a graph and they understand what's their hip size with respect to time. So this is very, very simple, cost effective, cost influencing innovation where application of knowledge plays very, very important role. Now let me take to another example. So taps, facets. Here in India, British oriented, English oriented standards, we call this as taps. Whereas when you get into foreign countries, that is US based, they call this as facets. So this is one activity where it's long body. The other thing is the same long body, but when you see the operating wall, earlier case it used to be revolving in nature, but now leveraging in activity. So revolving means the simple activity where if you are having any soap or oily hands, yes, revolving becomes quite tough. Whereas the leveraging activity, no, it is not going to be of that nature. It becomes easy, maybe by means of finger. Yes, this operation can be done, and this is known. It is used in kitchen swan neck kitchen sink tap, where In order to facilitate, accommodate the utensils, yes, the neck is taken on a longer, vertically it is taken up, and again it is given in small partial U bend, so it is known aspect. And the other category is water mixture, where left hand side or right hand side, either one of the side will be for hot water, the other thing will be for cold water. So mixture takes place. And today, especially after COVID pandemic, such things have come. Hand-free taps, that is actuation of the taps or faucets is by means of hand-free. Because researchers prove that transmission of coronavirus took place even by means of tap or by means of lift buttons, the physical contact by the infected person and the non-infected person. This acts as a medium. So today, sensor, of course, sensor is there long back, but it's a cost-effective one. Foot operated valve. Even if you go to Tirupati or elsewhere, still such taps are there. Tirumala, if you go to temple, inside the temple premises or in the Annadanam Prasadam, in that particular block, yes, foot operated also still persist there. And elbow operated is available in many of the railway stations, public railway stations, but not in southern railways. I have not seen anywhere, but elsewhere other than southern railways, I was told that as things are there, by means of elbow operation it can be done. That is, palms will not be used, but except this sensor type or this advanced type, except these two models, the other models, when you see, there is a biggest drawback. Here there are 4 models are there. Here, omitting this sensor versus foot operated, the elbow operated, there is a biggest drawback. What is the drawback here is, assume there is no water available in the tank. The tank is free of water. There is no water availability. Now people will open, then they realize that there is no supply of water. So what happens? They will leave as such. Even as a common man, we or anyone would have come across this particular situation where we open, we try to see whether water flow is there, supply is not there. So what we do, we just leave as such. We may not be bothered, maybe because of urgency or some other issues. We may not be bothered to close the tap. Now what will happen? Say for example, today we left the institution by 4:30. We have opened the tap. Maybe by 5 o'clock, somebody else, some maintenance guy would have come and he would have switched on the motor. So tank would have been filled. He might be in an assumption that this tank is filled, maybe for 15 minutes of motor might have been operated. He leaves the campus. And next day morning, when he comes and see, or when the user comes for utilization, we'll be saying there is no water. It would have been completely ran out of water because there is a leakage. So what is the innovation here is push type of taps. We press it, we wait for whether water is there or not. If water is there, yes, it might come. If water is not there, obviously it comes for normally closed position. So this is one simple innovation. So other things are normally closed, but based on operation, it becomes open. But this is always closed in nature, whether there is a supply, whether there is no supply of water, still it is in closed position. So this is one example of innovation. So all these things are not engineering example, the examples which we come across day to day. Now, another example, again, this is not engineering because we'll see everything. So it's a stump. These were the stumps which were used traditionally, even of course in a very scarce cases this is used. But you will be astonished by seeing this heading. This person, and he was the one who gave this heading. System for indicating movement of an article from one position or orientation to another position or orientation. So what is this? Who is he? His name is Bronte Eckermann. He is an Australian. He is an electrical engineer by profession. So why? What is the relation? What is the correlating aspect, or which is the aspect connects all these 3 activities? The title, him versus the stumps. So he is none other than he is the person who invented this LED stumps. He was the one who invented LED stumps, and you might be aware earlier during the 2023 IPL season, there were 2 stumps being broken by Harshdeep Singh. Then people got a very good picture on this LED stumps because the price is very, very costly. It is somewhere around some lakhs. It goes on lakhs. So therefore, he's the one who enjoys the royalty. And what is the system for indicating movement? It is none other than is the title what he has given for his patent. Anywhere the term stump is there means obviously the answer is no. That's the title what he has given. So what I convey here is when you are going with innovation, documentation plays a very important role, and that documentation should be very, very precisely done so that your idea is completely governed by this IPR activity. Okay, what is there? Why? What is the reason he could have used the term stumps? Now let us remove the middle stump alone. Let us assume this as a goalpost in the case of hockey. Whether the system can be used? Yes, it can be used. If it is in case of a soccer, a football, yes, again it can be used. So he has kept his invention in a broader picture. So therefore, he has not used the term stump, but the application is made in a wide aspects. So this is where even we need to be developing our knowledge as far as the documentation philosophies are concerned. And this is the reason why MS Dhoni is not removing the stumps nowadays. And I'll tell you what, there is another reason. In the upcoming slides, I will tell why Dhoni is not removing the stumps in day-to-day activity. So this is another example. Of course, it has been published in ICICI website. How it happens, all the things. They gave a small presentation pertaining to DRS. How DRS took place earlier days versus how the DRS is taking place now. Earlier, yes, there were ultra edge or hotspot was used. Now ultra edge is being used, and there is another thing is that ball tracking is used nowadays. So ball tracking everyone would have seen, especially in the case of LBW, leg before wicket, as ball tracking is there. So earlier it was called as in situ monitoring, that is online monitoring. Let me replace like this. In situ means online monitoring. An event is occurring, so continuous monitoring of that event. So event that can be recorded and over a period of time it can be seen. So how the technology was earlier means, earlier it was done by means of hawk eye technology, not only in cricket, in football, in tennis, all the cases. Hawk eye technology. Multiple cameras were fitted in the stadium and they are focused in one particular area, and multiple photogrammetry, photographs were made and they were stitched to make into a 3D model and the results were analyzed. Now what is the problem here is, in the game of football or hockey or basketball, yes, things are okay because the ball size is big, the capture is okay, that is not an issue. But especially in a game of cricket, in this case of tennis, yes, it is, though the ball size is minimum, but there is no hit wicket or there is no stumping philosophy involved. So this was okay up to a certain limit, but later on the reiteration, this is what we discussed earlier, the reiterative process came into existence and Hawkeye technology was deemed to be unfit as far as cricket is concerned. And this is another example, classical example. The referee will be running along with the ball. Maybe partially the ball would have crossed the goal post. There is a vibration based smart device being fit into the hand. If the ball crosses the line to a significant level, if I'm not wrong, some 50 to 60% of the ball should have crossed the line breadth, I feel so. So if it is crossed, automatically you will be getting a goal alarm here, and that's where the referee declares. So these all are the smart devices being available. But in cricket, this has been replaced like this. How means earlier it was on-site monitoring, but now it has been done by means of IoT and CPS. IoT, maybe people from computer background or some circuit background might be having a knowledge on this Internet of Things, and CPS is cyber physical system where a physical hardware can be mimicked, can be copied into a computer. So how it is being done. So this is based on Hawkeye. As far as the ball is in seaming position, if it is a fast delivery, yes, it is good. There is no issues. But how about spin delivery? If the ball is undergoing spin, you would have seen the famous delivery of Shane Warne. Ball will be pitching on the leg side extreme and immediately it turns, it spins towards the wicket, and yes, the wicket is removed. There are several examples are there even in YouTube. But such things Hawkeyes are not capable of doing. So that's where reiterative process comes into picture. For seaming condition, yes, it is okay. You can see the ball position. The stitching position is being seen. So for the seaming position, it is okay. Hawkeye plays or it fits the purpose. But as far as spin of balls is concerned or the rudimentary spinning is concerned, yes, it is incapable. It is deemed to be unfit, and that's where IoT and CPS are incorporated. So again, this is one classical example, that is ball tracking system, not by means of Hawkeye technology. This is by means of IoT and CPS. Now, who is the supplier? Who is the signal emitter? Who is the signal receiver? Earlier, cameras were there, several cameras were fit, but now who is one gives the detail is, it is none other than the ball. The ball is fit with sensors. So in robotics, there is a concept. There are three different types of axes or there, X, Y, and Z. It is named like this. Ya, pitch and roll. So each axis, different coordinate systems are there, Cartesian coordinates are there, polar coordinates are there, spherical coordinates are there. So everything is monitored with respect to the axis versus the coordinates. So similarly here there are three sensors being fit. You would have seen especially in IPL or 2020 match where the ball is continuously smashed. So therefore the battery life significantly drops. So immediately the umpire comes with some 4-5 balls. They will be checking the diameter, and those balls are fit with good batteries. So therefore the signal strength will be good. Now there might be another question. Okay, sensor is being fit. How the swing or how the spin is being considered is like this. So this is what three sensors are there. Of course, it's a patented technology of Jetson Industries Australia. So they have considered the three sensors pertaining to three axes: seam plane, magnetic vector, and wobble. And there is a rotation axis. The way how the ball goes. So here there is a spin across the entire board. The right side there is a spherical image you can see here. So this one particularly shows the axis of the ball right from delivery till it reaches the keeper. So this is the axis path it has taken. So the signal emitter is none other than the ball. Now who is the receiver? This plays an interesting role. So there are sensors available in the ball, and who is the receiver? Behind the stumps, there are antennas or there, ultra wide band anchors, antennas or there. They capture the signal. They capture the signal, and it is being given to the control room somewhere nearby, maybe within the stadium only, not beyond the stadium, within the stadium, within the communicative distance, things are there. So you would have seen there are stump mics are there. You would have heard the instructions given by the captain or by the keeper, whatever maybe the discussions, what they discuss. And this is the reason why Dhoni is not removing the stumps, because they are not stumps. They are stumps fit on an anchor, that is on an antenna. So if anything is getting damaged, then they are liable for payment. Even ICC disclosed that if India would have won during the earlier World Cup, they were in an idea of giving the entire set to as a gift to Dhoni. But fortunately, we lost again New Zealand. Things apart. So this is what a classical example of IoT and CPS, but not in an engineering case, in a generic case. So what all are the benefits out of the entire thing is we need to understand the users. How do we understand user is understanding the problem, not just mere understanding, proper thorough understanding where we understand what happens in the process, inside the process. Then we can come out with the troubleshooting methodology. We can develop or design solutions for that. We can come out with several approaches, and the ultimate thing is if I am becoming an entrepreneur, it is going to reduce my risk, my cost of failure, because failure costs are more as far as new product development is concerned. And the final thing is we need to have diverse team, because technology involves here, finance involves here, economy involves here, forecasting, sales forecasting involves here, management aspects involves here, design aspects, new product development. So there are multitasking need to be done. So a single team or a single like-minded team will not solve the purpose. A diverse team, but not across the geography, at least within a homogeneous team, but pertaining to cross-functional activity. Say one from mechanical background, one from electrical, one from electronic computers. In such a way, diverse team is essential, because situation might get changed at any point of time. People can attend all such things, and the entire team or the organization is the beneficiary out of it. So how do we start is when you are having an idea with respect to entrepreneurship is start with innovation, do critical thinking, design thinking, critical thinking, systematic thinking, put together one umbrella systemic design, come with a systemic design, ensure your idea or product is under copyright activity, it is under the safe hands of IPR. By means of IPR, put it them under safe custody, work for funds, and try to be an entrepreneur. So with that, I come to the conclusion. Now I am open for queries. If
Thank
anything.
you, sir. Dear students, any queries you may ask. Dear students and faculty members, any queries you may ask. Come forward. Gokul, Charan, the student members, come forward. What? Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Anything, sir? You want to convey?
No, 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 sir. No, sir. I
Okay.
don't have anything.
Okay. So, behalf of AIC we thank you, sir, for the wonderful session on innovation-based entrepreneurship. Sir immediately accepted within a short period our invitation. Sir delivered a lecture on the innovation-based entrepreneurship. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful session as well as the contribution towards our IAC activities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you. Thank you all. Thank you, students. Thank you, sir.
I will post the feedback. Wait a
Okay,
minute,
sir.
dear participants.
Sir, I'll just stop sharing, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.